Snow drifted softly across the quiet morning street as Alexander Grant, one of the city's most respected CEOs, rushed toward his office after an early board call. His mind was buried in numbers, projections, and deadlines, until a tiny voice broke through the cold air and froze him in place. He turned and saw a little girl standing alone by the iron fence, her backpack resting in the snow beside her. Her small hands trembled in the morning chill, but it was her eyes, wide, frightened, and searching, that struck him like lightning. And then she said something that made his heartbeat stop completely. "Sir, my mom didn't come home last night." Before the story continues, if you believe in kindness, compassion, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Everyday Heroes. Your support helps these stories reach more hearts. Alexander felt something shift inside him, something far deeper than responsibility. He kneeled beside the girl, who couldn't have been more than 5 years old, bundled in a navy winter coat barely thick enough for the cold. Snow kept falling onto her blonde hair as if the world itself felt sorry for her. She clutched the straps of her backpack as though it was the only stable thing left in her life. In that moment, the successful CEO who had always prided himself on emotional distance felt an ache he hadn't experienced in years. As he listened, she explained, in her small, halting way, that her mother had gone out the previous evening to pick up extra hours at her second job, and simply never returned. She had waited. She had cried. And when morning came with no sign of her mother, she walked alone to the one place her mom always told her to go if something was wrong, the street near the office building where she cleaned during night shifts. Alexander's thoughts raced. The city could be dangerous, and a missing parent brought 100 terrifying possibilities. But he forced himself to stay calm for the child, guiding her gently toward warmth, safety, and answers. As he walked with her toward his car, something inside him whispered that this morning was no accident. He had been so consumed by his company, profits, and quarterly goals that he had forgotten how many unseen people kept his corporate empire running. This little girl, shivering in the cold, belonged to one of them. Inside his car, she sat quietly, legs dangling, eyes drifting nervously to the window as if hoping her mother would suddenly appear. Alexander called emergency services, the nearest shelters, and finally the cleaning agency that employed her mother. With every call, the news tightened a knot in his stomach. No one had seen her since the previous night. The girl's anxiety grew with each passing minute, and Alexander, despite his powerful position, felt completely helpless. The world could be so cruel, and sometimes even he, with all his resources, couldn't fix things instantly. Still, he refused to let fear win. He took the girl to his office, wrapped her in a warm blanket, and sent his assistant to buy her a proper winter coat and a small breakfast. As she quietly ate, he learned bits and pieces about her life. Her mother worked 2 jobs, often slept only 4 hours a night, and raised her daughter alone with no family nearby. They lived in a small apartment, always struggling but always managing somehow through the mother's relentless determination. The girl spoke of her mother with such love that it made Alexander's chest tighten. How many times had her mother cleaned his very office while he discussed million-dollar deals, completely unaware of the sacrifices she made? Hours passed without updates. Police reports were filed. Shelters were checked. Hospitals were contacted. The uncertainty gnawed at both Alexander and the little girl, who leaned against him as exhaustion overtook her. He watched her sleep and felt something powerful, responsibility, protectiveness, and an overwhelming sense that he needed to do more than just wait for news. By late afternoon, a breakthrough finally came. The mother had been found unconscious in a small alley, collapsed from exhaustion and dehydration after working a double shift and attempting to walk home through the snow. She had been taken to the hospital early in the morning, but without identification on her, no one knew who to contact. Alexander drove the girl to the hospital himself, his heart pounding as she woke and clutched his hand tightly. When they reached the room, the sight of the mother, pale, weak, but alive, brought tears to the girl's eyes. She ran to her, and Alexander stepped back, watching the emotional reunion unfold with a lump in his throat. The mother tried to apologize, her voice trembling with guilt for leaving her daughter scared and alone, but Alexander gently told her that none of this was her fault. Life had pushed her past her limits, and the real failure was a society that allowed hard-working mothers to collapse from exhaustion just to survive. At that moment, Alexander made a decision that would change their lives forever. He arranged for the hospital bills to be fully covered. He offered the mother a full-time position at his company with better pay, reasonable hours, and benefits she had never imagined possible. He ensured the girl would be enrolled in a nearby school with transportation provided. And to make sure they would never face uncertainty again, he set up a private emergency fund for them, no questions asked. As they cried tears of relief and gratitude, Alexander realized he hadn't just helped them, they had changed him. They reminded him of the humanity behind his company's walls and the silent struggles people carry. In choosing compassion over convenience, he rediscovered a part of himself he didn't know he had lost. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Everyday Heroes. Your support helps spread kindness across the world. Speech balloon before you go, comment below, kindness can change a life.